Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Here.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Here.
Councilmember Parsons.
Here.
Mayor Adams.
Here.
Councilmember Banks. It appears Councilmember Banks is absent.
Correct.
Councilmember Budiszewski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, council members, we have an agenda before us. Looking for a motion on that agenda. Nancy, go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
All right, thank you. Olga?
I'll second that.
All right, let's do a roll call vote on that.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Banks. Councilmember Budiszewski.
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Consent agenda is on non-controversial issues and fairly routine, and we handle those in a single motion. I'll read those into the record at this point in time. First item is an approval of the minutes from the following meetings: the City Council meeting from February 2nd, 2021, and the City Council work session from that same date, and approval of the list of license applications submitted by the city clerk to the City Council, and that list is on file in the city clerk's office. Then an approval of a resolution accepting the following donations. First one is $217.73 from Crystal Crime Prevention Board for the Crystal K-9 unit, and then $217.73 from the Crystal Crime Prevention Board for the Crystal Police Explorers. And then the final item is $100 from the Kiwanis Club of North Hennepin-Minneapolis for community policing. Thank those organizations for their donations to help us in our mission here. So looking for a motion on these items. Olga?
I make a motion to approve.
Thank you. Looking for a second?
I'll second.
Therese, thank you. Let's do roll call vote on that one.
Councilmember Budiszewski.
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. All right, next is open forum. The City Council appreciates hearing from our citizens, and we like to set aside some time to hear from them. Generally speaking, it's a 3-minute speaking time allowed for one topic of about 10 minutes. Sometimes I go ahead and I make exceptions if there's something that we need to talk about deeply, a little bit more deeply. Usually it's not something we take action on, and it's something that usually gets put on future agendas for a work session or council meetings. So is there anyone here wishing to speak during open forum? Seeing no one in council chambers, is there anyone?
Check Pam and Harlow.
Pam?
Needs
Is it
to
Pam? Or go ahead and unmute yourself if you're wishing to speak.
There we go.
Yep. There you
Hi.
are.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Pam Christensen, and this is my husband, Harlow, and we have lived at 4116 Jersey Avenue North in Crystal since June of 2017. And we would like to thank you for your engagement with our neighborhood this evening. We would also like to thank Mark Ray and Nancy and Brendan for their timely responses to our emails. We really appreciate that. We have done our best to educate ourselves about the issue of storm water storage and the serious concern about flooding in Crystal's central core by accessing the FEMA websites that Mark has recommended. Listening to the audio of last month's council work session, and by perusing the documents and the attachments provided for tonight's meeting. We have worked with the landscape architect to understand the scope of the original proposed pond project that was put forth as a mitigation to the water storage and flooding concerns. We do see the difficult decisions you have to make concerning the well-being of the citizens of Crystal. And we also certainly understand the concept of sacrifice for the good of the many. We are one of the 17 households in the neighborhood with properties that adjoin the Brownwood Pond trying to get information. We also, frankly, are really hurting from the potential loss of the trees and the natural habitat. At the same time, we are also concerned about the potential for our friends, our neighbors, to suffer the damage, the health risks, and the stress from flooding. We're hoping that there is some approach that can save trees and habitat while providing relief for our most vulnerable fellow citizens. We are grateful for your help in seeing the benefits of flood insurance and planning for the future. However, a mitigation plan costing millions and gaining so little storage does not make sense to us. And we are excited to see that Mark has included some new ideas in the documents you'll be using in your work sessions to follow. Our neighbor Kim has some concerns that she too would like to share. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Pam. With that, Kim, why don't you go ahead? Can she be unmuted?
Great. I'd like to confirm that you can hear me.
Yes, we
Can
can hear
someone
you.
confirm that you can hear me?
Yes.
Thank you so much. And thank you for having us today. My name is Kim, and I'm also one of the Brownwood property owners. I have a property adjacent to the Brownwood Pond, and I would like to add input as well into the proposed expansion. So based on information provided during last month's City Council meeting, my understanding is that the total cost to enhance stormwater holding capacity along the 4 ponds would be approximately $4 million. $2 million between Galkey and Brownwood, and an additional $2 million for Hagermeister. Obviously, this is a large expenditure of taxpayer dollars, and we understand a lot of consideration is going into this proposed spending. We would like to break down our understanding of the benefits which would be derived from this planned spending. First, in terms of root cause, we understand that this proposition, is attempting to address not routine annual water level, but is instead risk to private property resulting from unusual melt activity. So kind of a rare occurrence, something that has a roughly 1% per year risk of occurring. This means an event that is not predictable. It is not common, and it is not concern that we are aware of. But again, to emphasize, it is the $4 million per not predictable. It is not common. Based on my understanding from the last meeting, if all of the ponds were expanded in the plan, there would be no direct benefit to the Brownwood property areas. So any properties bordering the Brownwood Pond would not have a direct reduced risk of flooding as a result of this mitigation activity. So any yards that are currently becoming flooded, any risk to properties, our understanding is that for the properties adjacent to Brownwood, there would be no decrease in that risk because there's no change to the water level as a result of the expansion of the pond. Similarly, Memory Lane Pond would not see any benefit to this expansion either. The only potential benefit to the expansion would be for properties that border Hagermeister Pond and Galkey Pond. However, our understanding is that this benefit is also minimal and that it would only be an 8.5-inch reduction to the high flood plain. As such, it would not remove the risk of flooding to the properties that border those ponds either, or would not dramatically decrease their risk. Essentially, properties would still be wet if they're going to get wet. So to reiterate, the perceived benefit to homeowners from this project would either be negligible or non-existent, depending on which property or which pond their property is adjacent to. So it's a great expenditure. However, it doesn't seem justified to me, kind of based on the minimal return. There are also many detriments to this proposed activity, which Leah would discuss in more detail. So turning it over to Leah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Leah, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. Again, my name is Leah, and I am a neighbor of the Brownwood Park. I hope that my internet connection will stay with us for this,
Could we have
this brief note.
Leah, could we have your address and last name, please? Address and last name?
Sure. My last name is McCuskey, Makousky, and my address is 4108 Jersey Avenue.
All right, thank you for that. And any future speakers, we'd like the same information. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. As noted by the neighbors here, we have listened to the initial presentation that was given to the council members in January. And a few of our concerns were discussed in that meeting. However, we feel like there are important points that need to be made about the main detriments this project has to our community that were not discussed. So we'd like to consolidate those into just a few points here. Number one is the quality of living. If the proposed plans are enacted, there will be a reduction of the quality of living for the adjacent and nearby residents, as this forested area truly provides visual and audible separation from Highway 42. Number two is the interest in living in the area. By simple questioning of our neighborhood, it was really made clear that the greenery of Brownwood was a profound reason for people to buy their homes here. Many families consider Brownwood Park an extension of their own backyard and are grateful to have access to the park on a regular basis. Number three was discussed on the 19th, the issue of removal of trees being a big concern. But it really goes beyond that. Many of the trees are native and have grown tall and strong because the conditions in that area are perfect for their species. There are over 100 trees in Brownwood Park, and many of them are between 70 and 200 years old. With their removal, the effects will ripple, such as the complete destruction of this canopy will no longer keep our neighborhood cool, and we will see a spike in energy consumption. The number of trees at these ages sequester 2.88 tons of carbon and remove 130 pounds of pollutants such as CO2, ozone, and other particulates every single year. In addition to that, the annihilation of this existing animal and insect habitat that includes egrets, pileated woodpeckers, great horned owls, pollinator bees, a fox family that we all love to enjoy watching, is going, they all completely destroyed. And the fourth point is property values. Brownwood Pond creates a unique oasis in an urban environment, and we likely purchased these properties at a higher cost due to the proximity to that park, and also we likely pay higher taxes. So based on these detrimental elements, we hope that an alternative solution to better alleviate the flood risks is possible. And I'll just turn it back over to Harlow to wrap up our concerns.
Thank you, Leah. Harlow, are you there?
Yes.
All right,
I
go
am.
ahead.
I'm Harlow Christensen. I live at 4116 Jersey Avenue North. I was introduced earlier by my wife, Pam. We assume that the city budget would not hold up to the additional cost of a habitat restoration. That being said, following the clear cutting of 100 trees and the digging of a basin, we face living adjacent to a weedy pit that has a muddy bottom. This is a far cry from the woods our grandchild and our neighborhood children explore and play in. Not a future we find acceptable given the high monetary cost and so little community gain. Again, we appreciate being brought in the loop on the proposed project so that we can gain a more thorough understanding of the issues. We appreciate the opportunity to give you input as opposed to hearing about a final decision in the spring when all we could add would be our reaction to the project. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, thank you, Harlow. Is there anyone else wishing to speak on this topic only? Anyone else on this topic only? All right, is there anyone who wishes to speak on a different topic? Seeing no one. I'd like to make a couple comments. First of all, that was very cool to see a group presentation like that. You guys did a fantastic job. I also want to draw attention to this forum here. And I want you to know that this forum is always available to you, not just on issues that relate specifically to you, but bigger areas, bigger issues that affect more people in Crystal. And this is something that I don't want you to take for granted. This is a very cool thing. We're very approachable. You do have a seat at the table. We do want to hear from you, and we thank you for coming in and expressing your concerns. So that's just the sentiment I wanted to share with you. Anyone else have anything else?
No, just agree with what you said. It's really exciting to see neighbors getting involved, and I'm happy for us too, getting you involved early on in the project, to your point, Harlow, instead of being told after a decision is made. These were things that we implemented several years ago as a council prior to me, and I really appreciate seeing this in action.
Yeah, it was, we've done that in budget, we've done it in all aspects where we've actually seen city staff stepping out of their offices more than ever before and really coming out to meet you guys, the citizens, meet us. And it's great we're able to do things, like you said, you don't want to hear about it as the decision's already made or as the vote's taking place. And we really do our best at both the council level and the staff level. So thank you for realizing that and mentioning it. We appreciate that. Another thing, when we have this work session, you're welcome to stay on for that work session. Generally speaking, it's a time for the council to have these conversations. It's not as interactive as this is, not even close. It's interactive for us. So thank you for your time and your presentation. All right, with that, open forum is closed, and we'll move on with the regular agenda. All right, first item on our regular agenda are disbursements of $25,000 or greater. I read these into the record, and then we have a vote on them. First item is Center for Energy Environment for Home Improvement Loan Program cost of $25,919. And then Crystal Leased Housing Association for Kavanaugh TIF note. That's the interest payments of $155,169. Golden Valley Joint Water Commission for December water costs, $153,907. And Minnesota Para for employee and city required contributions for pay date February 5th, 2021, $62,415. And then Health Partners, Inc. for February health insurance premiums, $122,661. Waste Management for the December recycling costs, $52,900. And then Met Council Environmental Services for water waste services for February is $143,035. Are there any questions from the council on any of these items? Seeing no questions, looking for a motion on this. Therese?
I will move to approve the expenditures over $25,000.
All right. Second, John?
I second that motion.
All right. Did I read the total? Did I really miss the total?
Oh, you're the total.
Oh, you didn't?
Okay. I don't think I did. Total of all $25,000 or greater disbursements was $716,009.75. We got a first and a second on the table. Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Budiszewski.
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Next, we have a resolution referring to professional services for the North Branch Bassett Creek Culvert Replacement project, and our Public Works Director, Mark Ray, is here to talk to us on that. Welcome, Mark.
All right, good evening, everybody. So the first item for Public Works we have on you is the culvert replacement. It's under Louisiana Avenue, just north of 36th. During the design of the 2021 utility reconstruction project, it was determined that the cost to replace this culvert was roughly the same as using trenchless methods to replace the water and sewer that actually go below the culvert. Since, as you can see in the memo, the culvert's been there for over 60 years. It's corrugated metal pipe. It has issues. It seemed like the right thing to do was replace that if the cost was roughly the same. So this is an add in scope for SCH. So the professional services for this, not to exceed $37,880. Note, the center line of Louisiana is the border of New Hope. So New Hope, we've been working with them for months. They're aware of this. They're totally on board with this. They're going to pay half of the design cost, half of the $37,000, as well as half of the construction. So to provide some perspective here, the green line is roughly where the pipe goes that carries the North Ranch at Bassett Creek. The red circle is around the part that'll be replaced. And as you can see, the part on the right is Crystal, part on the left is New Hope. And we'll split the cost to replace that. Overall schedule, your plans will be coming before the council for the whole reconstruction project in March. We will have a work session in there as well. The plan is to open bids, then council consideration of the bids in April. And then just as a heads up, Louisiana Avenue around the creek will likely be closed completely during construction. As you can see, it's a pretty tight space there. And CenterPoint Energy, stand by here. This is one of their gas facilities, so I'll be getting some upgrades as well. So a lot will be going on in a very small area. Plus, once we take down the culvert, we have to do bypass pumping on the creek to make sure there aren't flooding issues. So it'll be a disruption, but hopefully we'll get in there, get it done, and move on. With that, before you is a motion to approve the professional services contract with SCH for the replacement of the culvert. Are there any questions?
Questions on this one from the council? Nancy, go ahead.
How long will this project take, do you think?
I would say this portion is probably going to be, if we include CenterPoint in there, I would say at least 3 months probably
Okay,
for the whole thing.
good to know. And appreciate the photos of the,
Yeah. It provides a lot of perspective on what's going on and something you should never
Yeah.
actually go in.
yeah. Great, thank you.
Okay. Forgive me if I'm asking a question that's answered. I fell short on my homework.
That's okay.
The water main and sewer main, that is or is not going to be done with the replacement?
So it is, and because that was going to be replaced as a normal reconstruction project, because that's actually below the culvert, there was two options, either basically bore new ones under the culvert, but that increased cost was the same as just removing the culvert, digging a giant hole, fixing them, and then putting a new culvert back in.
What size main do we have there, do you recall?
It is an 8-inch,
It is an 8-inch, okay.
and now we're getting a little nerdy, which is totally awesome. New Hope actually has a parallel water main that runs on the west side of the road there, and so what they're gonna do is abandon that main and then tee into our system, so we have less water main running through the area, which also keeps us clear of all the CenterPoint junk that'll be on the west side of the road. So not only is this gonna work out better for us, but it's gonna just kind of clean up that area from an infrastructure standpoint. We've had a number of water main breaks there, and unfortunately, every time we do, we have to figure out whose it is for them to mobilize the crew in, because the city limit goes down the middle of the road.
Very cool. Good. All right, any other questions? All right, looking for a motion. John?
Make a motion authorizing professional services contract for the North Branch Bassett Creek culvert replacement.
All right, looking for a second. Nancy?
I'll second.
Thank you. Let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Budaszewski.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Next, we are going to take a look at some of our park rules and regulations, and we have our recreational director here, John Elholm, to address the council. Welcome, John.
All right, good evening, everyone. We're here tonight for second reading of the city code changes regarding parks and recreation. We were here 2 weeks ago where we had the first reading and we went through some slides on that. I brought a few of them forward again. So really what the code does is it adds some definitions to the city code. clarifies a few things on closing hours, fires, and some other regulations. And then it specifies areas where permits are required, and then also more clearly specifies things that are not allowed in the parks, which were elsewhere in the code, but brings it into the Park and Recreation chapter. And then instead of just having 2 levels of permit, it adds a third lower level of permit. That's a little bit lower dollar cost potentially, and allows for use of park space without a shelter. And then in the mobile food unit area, it clarifies some permit issuance procedures and clarifies permitted hours of operation. So with that, for the second reading, recommendation is to approve the second reading of the ordinance amending Chapter 13 and Chapter 21 of the Crystal City Code, as well as summary language for publication of the ordinance.
All right, thank you, John. Questions or comments from the council? Seeing none, I'd like to make a couple comments. Through this discussion, we kind of looked at things, and we wanted to try to make sure we weren't a barrier to accessing and using the parks. And so we had a couple tweaks along the way, and thank you for doing that, John. Mm-hmm. And today I kind of brought something up in terms of dealing with accessibility for example, if it was a business. I think we talked about doing karate in the park, and the reason karate was brought to the park was because they couldn't use their facilities because of what the governor had done, and then now we're going to charge for that. And I think just so people know that staff can do something administratively during the period of COVID to do some forgiveness for this ordinance as it relates to those periods of time, but this is a normal operating charge that we're looking at, not a COVID emergency style operation. And that hasn't been done yet, but that's a staff will handle that. They're perfectly capable and competent, and we just get out of the way. All right. With that, we have, is it 2 on this one?
Correct.
Yeah, we have 2. Nancy?
Is it okay to do them both together, or do we need to do them separately?
I'm going to defer to the attorney. One at a time?
I would recommend
One at a time?
One at a time.
Okay. Well, then I will make a motion to adopt an ordinance revising chapters, Roman numerals. XXI, that's 21, correct?
Correct.
And then 13 of the Crystal City Code regarding parks and mobile food units.
All right, thank you. The second, John?
So moved.
All right. You know, I think they've been around us long enough to know if we want to put it together, we're going to put it together. So if they put it separate,
We should
they probably
just
mean
not
it.
even ask, right?
All right, let's do a roll call vote on that one.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Budaszewski.
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, thank you. So second one, do you want to go the same order?
Sure.
Nancy?
I'll make a motion for a resolution approving summary language for publication of ordinance number 20,021-01.
Okay, second, John. Thank you. Roll call vote.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Budaszewski.
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
And Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. So we still have John Elholm here, and he's going to talk about the Appendix 4.
All right. So the next item relates to fees, and the fees tie into the code that we just talked about. So essentially, those new categories that are part of that new hierarchy of fees are included in this, as well as some adjustments to fees that have been in the fee schedule that are no longer going to be charged for, and that's things like our bounce houses and large shade structures. It does also clarify, though, that insurance is required for a number of things. So no fee, but we will be looking for insurance for those things that have some potential, issues. So with that, we're looking for a recommendation is to approve the resolution amending Appendix 4 of the Crystal City Code to add and amend park-related fees.
All right, thank you, John. Questions? Seeing none, motion? John?
Make a motion approving a resolution, Appendix 4 of the Crystal City Code, to add and amend park-related fees.
All right. David, I don't want to leave you out. Would you want to second this? Cummings?
I'll second that.
Ah, awesome.
There we go. Nice.
All right. With that, let's do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Budiszewski.
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. So John is still here,
I'm still here.
this time to talk about a park shelter. Why
Yeah,
don't you talk to us about that?
little different subject. We're looking towards summer and getting some of our construction projects started. And the first one here is Bass Lake Park. And this one, if we remember back to when we did the park system master plan, the plan took a look at each of the parks in Crystal. And what it said about Bass Lake Park is that we should replace the shelter, which is the number 2 there, circled on the map, and move it to a more central location. And then also add trails to improve accessibility to the elements that are within the park. The next year, 2018 and 19, we had a discussion about selling surplus property. And there were a couple lots adjacent to Bass Lake Park that seemed to fit that bill. So since then, the properties have been sold and the houses have been built. And the proceeds for that have been added to the Parks Fund, which can help to pay for some of the projects like this. And then 2019 and 2020, a concept plan was developed for the park that includes moving the picnic shelter to a more central location. It actually also moves the basketball court to provide some separation between basketball and the playground, which is typically a good thing to do. And then adds paved trails to connect the park amenities. The play area will stay just as it is. So we did go out and talk to a couple companies about picnic shelter, purchasing picnic shelter, 20 by 20 structural steel frame with 9-foot eaves, same size as what was put at Iron Horse last summer. Standing seam metal roof, tongue and groove pine ceiling, then gable ends with a sunburst design with the city logo. So that I think looks nice at Iron Horse. So we're going to replicate that same type of design at Bass Lake Park. So we did get a couple of quotes from 2 different companies, Northland Recreation and St. Croix Recreation. And what we asked them for is the price not only just for the shelter, but also to put in the footings and to build it. So the lowest quote we received was from Northland Recreation. And theirs came a little bit different than normal. It came as the quote from Northland Recreation, as well as a quote from Mulcare Contracting, which is the one who builds the structure. So they're actually 2 separate things, but combined add up to $39,892. So we do have a $70,000 budget for this, but that also includes shelter, concrete, lights, tables, some of those other things as well. And again, this is a Parks Fund project. So what we're looking for tonight is approval of a resolution entering into an agreement with Northland Recreation to provide a 20-foot by 20-foot picnic shelter and concrete footings at Bass Lake Park in the amount of $32,742.
All right, questions? Nancy?
Circling back to our fee schedule, if somebody wants to rent that beautiful new shelter, would that be the 35 and 45 fee for a neighborhood park?
Yeah, for the shelter at a neighborhood park.
And if you're a resident, 20% off of that?
Correct.
Okay, just wanted to verify that. I think we discussed that in our work session, right? And that's a great deal. I love the look of that shelter. And how has it been received at Iron Horse? That similar design?
Very positive comments on that.
Good, yeah, very nice.
All right, David, I saw your hand up. Go ahead, David.
Yeah, just a few comments. So I live pretty close to this park, so I frequent this park a lot. I'm super excited to see the changes there. especially because as it is right now, I think of it like an eighth of the park is, with the basketball court and then the shelter and the playground, and then the rest of it's just an open field. So it's really awesome to see that there's gonna be a pathway through there, to moving the basketball court over, and then selling those houses too. So I'm just excited to see the changes there, and having a new shelter will be super nice for the park as well. So I'm really excited to see this project when it's done.
All right, thank you, David. Anyone else? Therese?
Does this shelter have electricity?
It will have electricity.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another question I had, not really related, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Is that you've talked a lot about bouncy houses. Is that a COVID thing, the spike in people bringing or having bouncy houses at like birthday parties at parks? I didn't really see that until last summer, and then I saw it all the time.
Yeah, so bounce houses are for whoever rents them.
Yeah.
Those for private parties and things. So, that I guess I wouldn't recommend using those during COVID, but people certainly do.
It just seemed like a spike that I saw a lot more last summer than I'd ever seen before. I was wondering.
Yeah, there were many more last summer than we've ever seen.
Have we ever has anyone ever gotten injured in one that we know of?
Not that I know of here, but it's fairly common throughout the country,
That's
injuries.
okay. Thanks.
Because what can happen if they're not staked down real well and all of a sudden the wind comes, then they become a tumbleweed. And if there's kids in it, that can cause problems, and kids falling on other kids, there are potential risks there.
It's crazy. I never think of that when my kids get in.
No, I didn't think of that either.
It's worth it.
It's worth it, right? There will be more bouncing in bounce houses.
Oh, I didn't need a bouncy house to get myself into that kind of trouble. All I needed was a big tractor inner tube. All right. Any other questions? Looking for a motion on this one.
David?
David?
I thought you
David?
had kind of a-
David?
For a motion, David.
Motion to carry. What did I say?
You'll be the first, so you'll read the whole resolution if you don't mind.
I don't know if I know where that is in my notes. I can
That's
second it.
under 5.5.
Would be making a motion to adopt a resolution in support of constructing a 20 by 20 picnic shelter in Bass Lake Park.
Oh, the second line in whereas?
Right, yeah, you may not have the working agenda because you're at home.
Oh, okay.
But that's what he wants to make the motion for.
Yeah, because you're excited and we wanted you to have that motion.
I don't have the working motion. I can just second it. That's fine.
Maybe Olga, because you're in section 2.
Go ahead, Olga.
Sure.
I've never been overridden on a first by calling on someone.
We're calling on
Well-
people now.
Go ahead,
All
Olga.
right. I'll make a motion to approve the resolution in support of constructing a 20 by 20 picnic shelter in Bass Lake Park.
All right, thank you. And David,
Second that motion.
thank
Right.
you. All members, no wait, roll call vote.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Councilmember Budiszewski.
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons. Aye. Motion carries.
All right, thank you. Thanks, John. Next, we're going to be talking about a utility equipment trailer, and Mark Ray is here to address us on that.
Far upper right, one more to the right. Or that one, yeah, there you go. All right, good evening, back again. So in the 2021 fleet fund, there was $35,000 allocated for the replacement of a trailer that actually carries our trench box for underground excavation work, primarily water main breaks. It's not moving. Oh, there we go. However, what we're looking to do is kind of expanding the capability of this trailer with an enclosure on the front part of that trailer. So parts, equipment, tools will be stored in the front area as well as a warming area for staff, and then on the back half of the trailer will be where the trench box is carried. 4 vendors were contacted, only 2 quotes were obtained. We had no response from a third, and then another one said they're too busy for the work. So the purchase cost we got was for $51,200. There was $35,000 allocated for it. We also had a little over 16,000 remaining from the light trailer purchase. So the net is we are slightly above by about $200, being within kind of the funds available. As you know, this one primarily be used for water main breaks, and so it'll be pulled out with all the equipment that goes to a scene. Right now, one of the big challenges we have is all the equipment's shuttled in vehicles, so if there isn't something there, they have to run back to the shop to grab it, or if they have to warm up, they literally just sit in a pickup truck, which isn't a bad thing, but there's really not much you can do when you're sitting in a pickup truck, whereas the shelter, they could be prepping tools or prepping the band to go on the break while they're also warming up. So we're trying to kind of basically boost utilization, help them warm up while they're just doing the normal work that needs to be done. So with that, are there any questions?
Looking for questions on this from the council. Go ahead, John.
So the back half of the trailer, you carry the pipe, is that?
The back half of the trailer actually would just be an open for where the trench box goes.
Okay, all right, okay.
And then the front is kind of this enclosed part.
Okay,
And the
right.
memo has like a picture I found on the internet that kind of shows what it'll be like.
Yeah, okay. And then, so if we order this trailer now, when would we take delivery? I mean, because you're saying that everybody's just so busy, I mean.
Yeah, so we're hoping to take it this summer.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. You're preparing for next year.
We're writing this winter off, but
Yeah.
next year we'll be raring to go.
I just thought of something.
I did too.
Are there other uses besides the stormwater replacement?
Yeah, so basically the intent is a lot of the parts that are currently stored in the shop will be moved into this trailer. And so really, if there's any underground work at all going on, because we need the trench box, the whole platform goes with it. So, all right, now we're thinking about calling it the underground response trailer. With a few little names.
Well, Mike will be happy to do that logo for you.
But the intent is to try to basically keep all of our parts with the box you need for safety and move it as a unit, which will help us control inventory better, just because you're not shuttling stuff into pickups out to a scene and then bringing it back and putting it on the shelf if you didn't need it.
Nice.
So logistically, it would be a lot simpler too.
It's a lot like our traffic control trailer where you just pull it out, you have everything you need, set it up, put it back on the trailer, and park it when you're done.
Okay, so I guess the thing that struck me is, do you think they'd do it for 5,100 and we could be on budget?
We're gonna give it a shot.
That's what I thought.
We're $200 under, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Oh, under?
Yeah, we're under by $200.
We're under, okay.
$221.
Yeah.
I read it the other way, I'm sorry. But yeah, if you want to go for that, that's great. All right, any other questions? Looking for a motion on this one. John?
I make a motion approving the purchase of a utility equipment trailer.
All right. Olga, second?
I'll second that.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Budaszewski.
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Well, that is our agenda for today. A couple announcements, just a reminder that our next council meeting is March 2nd, 7 p.m., and that's in the same location on Zoom as well as at City Hall. And also a reminder that these work sessions and council meetings are available for listening and viewing on our website at www.crystalmn.gov. Any other announcements going on? Nancy?
I had a question, the Neighbors Recognizing Neighbors, is that still open or has that closed?
Yep, nope.
What's
Still
the deadline? And I'm sorry I didn't have the info in front of me, but
I
just
know, I
wanna
don't have it
remind
in front of
people
me
about
either,
it.
but I believe it's through, at least through February and maybe midway through March. Do
It's
you remember, John?
March 15th is the
March
deadline,
15th
and
is the
there's a
deadline.
link on our website.
Perfect, yeah, go to the website or the city's Facebook page to find out more information. But if you have a neighbor who's done some outstanding things, it's a great way to nominate and reward them.
Yeah, that's awesome. Those who are in attendance here, as we adjourn this meeting, you can stay on and we'll get started with work session on the same station in just a few minutes. Looking for a motion. John?
So moved.
Nancy?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Councilmember Budaszewski.
Aye.
Councilmember Cummings.
Aye.
Councilmember Kaiser.
Aye.
Councilmember LaRoche.
Aye.
Councilmember Parsons.
Aye.
Mayor Adams.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, we are adjourned. We'll see you next month for the work, for the